Hello, hello, welcome everyone. So good to be with you today. This is Aubriana, she, her pronouns. And for a brief visual description, I'm a young mixed race, white and Japanese woman with long brown hair. I'm wearing some green glasses, a green t-shirt, and I have a green virtual background. So really excited to be with you all today. And if it's not clear, I really like the color green. Thank you all so much for joining. And before we get started, just wanted to review some of our access features for today's Rev Up National call. We have cart captioning, which you can view by clicking the CC button on your bottom toolbar. Or if you prefer to view the captions in another window, we'll put the stream text link in the chat now. Our interpreters for today are Amy and Brenda, and we will have them spotlit for everyone. If you can't see them, please message AAPD tech support or put it in the chat.
Right.
For today, we're hoping to keep chat usage to a minimum as it can become distracting for attendees using screen readers. If you need to or prefer to use the chat to communicate, Alexia or I will read out your chat for you. If you have any access issues or questions, please direct a message to AAPD Tech Support or raise your hand, and we will do our best to support. And on today's call, we will be primarily using the raise hand feature to engage or ask questions. And a reminder that before you speak, it would be great if you could please share your name, pronouns, and where you're from. We're really excited that so many folks across the country are joining us today to empower the disability vote and build our Rev Up National movement. So with that, I will pass it to Alexia Kimmerling.
Hello, everyone. This is Alexia. For a quick visual description, I am a white woman with shoulder-length wavy blonde hair, and behind me you can see some books and some art. Super excited to be with you all today. All right, let's go to our third slide, our agenda slide. All right, so seeing some new names and faces, which is very exciting. So we're going to share a quick welcome to Rev Up. We are going to try out doing a tiny icebreaker where we'll invite one or two folks to come on and say hello. Then we will share some updates about federal voting rights. We will talk about our big fall campaign of Disability Voting Rights Week. Then we'll take a break. And when we come back, we are going to put folks into breakout rooms so you can have discussions across states. And we'll share more about what that looks like when we get to that part of the call. All right, next slide. So if we are meeting you for the first time, hello and welcome. The American Association of People with Disabilities is a national disability-led cross-disability rights organization, and we work on increasing the political and economic power in our community. And Rev Up, the call you're on today, is our campaign to build the power of the disability vote. It was started by grassroots organizers in Texas 10 years ago, and it is an acronym that stands for Register, Educate, Vote, Use Your Power. Next slide. So what is Rev Up all about? It is about building the power of the disability vote, which means increasing civic engagement in our communities and making our elections more accessible. On this slide, we have a fabulous picture of advocates in New Jersey posing outside the State House, and they're all wearing Rev Up t-shirts. Next slide, please. All right, so Rev Up is a national movement, but it is really rooted in change at the local level. And so we have disability vote coalitions in 22 states and growing. Got a map on this slide highlighting where our coalitions are located, and we're happy to share that information afterwards. We have so many wonderful Rev Up coalitions on this call. And if you are looking to get connected, you can email revup@aapd.com or go to our website and we will help get you to coalitions. All right, next slide, please. All right, so in the spirit of Rev Up and acknowledging folks across the country, we want to try something a little bit different today. It is so impossible when you've got 80 folks on a call for everyone to introduce themselves. But we recognized that we had people register for this call from 39 states. And so I have created a virtual spin the wheel. I'm going to share my screen to show you so you can see what it looks like. All right, here is our rainbow spin the wheel with all 39 states that registered for this call represented. All right, I'm going to come back to my screen. I'm going to spin this wheel, and whatever state it lands on, if you are from that state, please raise your hand. And I would love for one of you, if you're comfortable, to introduce yourself, your name, what state you're from, and what is one thing that you love about your state. All right, so here we go. The wheel is spinning very fast, which is why I'm not sharing my screen so no one gets dizzy. Um, and oh, Georgia, it landed on you.
Oh,
Woohoo. Okay. If
oh.
you are from Georgia, please raise your hand.
This is Stacy Ramirez, Rev Up Georgia, and I see a few other Georgia participants. I was looking for Jessica because I always want to put Jessica in the front of the room. But real quick, Stacy Ramirez, Rev Up Georgia. What do I love about Georgia? We have an amazing disability coalition. I mean, it's I've never felt like we're in competition for each other. Everybody jumps in and works together, and it just makes a big difference. So thank you. And I see Maria Pinkleton has her hand up. I don't know if we're allowed to have one more because she's important.
Yeah, let's go for it. We'll go Maria and then Miss Bowers as well.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Stacy. This is Maria Pinkleton. Can you guys hear me? Okay, awesome. I am in Atlanta, Georgia, with the Georgia Council on Developmental Disabilities. And I would say that one great thing about Georgia is we are actually able to make things happen. I think a lot of people have not had traction in their efforts and have been hindered by some uh, systems that make it hard for them, and we are just always about finding a way out of no way. And people like Stacy and Jessica, who she spoke to before, make stuff like that happen. So it's statewide. It's all around the state too. So it's awesome.
Dyslexia community and action in Georgia. Miss Bowers, what would you add to this list?
I'd like to add that Georgia is a very large state, uh, and it encompasses a lot of small towns and communities. And I'm just thankful that Savannah, being the coastal empire, the hostess city, is able to have connections with REV in order to help the disability um, people to be able to access their rights to vote and to get a lot of knowledge and understanding about the voting process. That's what I'm thankful for.
Thank you so much, Miss Bowers. And the gratitude is mutual. We are thankful for you and your organizing. Um, Seeing in the chat, Carrie from Rev Up Tennessee is loving Maria's finding a way out of no way. All right, I think we have time to let's do one more state. All right, I'm gonna spin my wheel. It is spinning so very fast and rainbow color. And we are on Missouri. Is anyone from Missouri on the call? Looks like there is. Let's see.
Hi. I knew it was gonna land on Missouri. I was sitting here and I was
Oh,
getting ready to drink something, and I was like, Missouri, now boom! Hi, Alexia. Hi,
hi,
everyone.
Tiana.
Now,
Tiana,
what?
can you introduce yourself and share one thing you love about your state?
I can. My name is Tiana McGaw, and I am an organizing and advocacy specialist at Independent Living Center in Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri, to be exact. Paraguay. And what I love about my state, I have to say this, Alexia, is that we are trying to get up and going with a new Rev Up chapter here. And I'm excited about it because I plan to demand respect for people with disabilities. And sometimes we get put like second nature or don't feel like we have a place. I am actually above the knee amputee. I was born with a deficiency in my femur. And so I just want to kind of put Missouri on the map, put people with disabilities on the map to show that we can be cool, we can be fun, and we can look good. Thank you, Alexia. And is
Fun,
Earl on
cool.
here? I think my manager was going to join us today. Earl, did you get on? He's not.
Hey, I'm on here as well. Thanks for
Hey,
clarifying. Nice to meet
babe.
y'all. Somehow I ended up coming on here as Tiana, so it's all good.
All right. Thank you, Alexia.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Tiana. Looking good, having fun, making it happen. And I think I saw one other hand too. Be Jolene. We'll give Jolene a minute.
I was having trouble with my buttons down below. Hi, I'm Jo Lynn, and I'm in Kansas City, Missouri. And one thing that I love about Missouri is the strong actions that citizens are taking to try to guarantee our rights at the polls.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jolene. All right. Thank you, Missouri and Georgia, and thank you, lovely community on this call, for indulging our attempt at an icebreaker with 85 people. So very excited. There are so many states, and looking forward to our breakout rooms in the second half of this call where you'll be able to talk more with each other. All right. Next slide, please. Okay, so we like to start off these calls by just giving some updates about voting rights at the federal level. So during our call in March, we talked a lot about the SAVE Act, which, as you might remember, would make a lot of changes to voting, including people to have very specific types of documentation in order to register to vote. And it would include an in-person requirement that would be particularly difficult for the disability community. I am excited to share that the Senate has completed 2 weeks of debate, and they are back in session this week, and it is looking like the bill will not pass and that debate will end soon. This is a really big deal. This is a huge win. There was bipartisan, so Democrats and Republicans in the Senate spoke up against this bill, and that is because advocates informed their representatives that this bill is harmful and that they do not support it. Our partners in the civil rights space shared that from their tracking, there was over 1 million contacts, so phone calls, emails, and meetings, over 1 million to the Senate about harms of this bill. And there was really beautiful intersectional cross-movement advocacy, explaining to representatives and senators how this bill would make it harder for people across communities that experience oppression and exclusion to vote. So I think that we should all take a moment to feel very proud of the work in protecting voting rights. So thank you all so much. I know there are people on this call who were part of making those calls, sending those emails, being in those meetings. And that is it takes a lot of time and effort to continue to stand up for voting rights. So thank you all so much. And we will keep you updated We are still encouraging folks to continue the pressure on Senate and Congress because they are now going to be working on parts of the budget, and sometimes they will put aspects of another bill into the budget bill, and we do not want to see that happen with the SAVE Act. So continue, if you can, to email your senators and representatives about how the SAVE Act would impact the disability community. We are also concerned that multiple states have passed their own versions of the SAVE Act, and we might see the federal level shift to try to put more pressure on states. So just flagging that for folks, that is something we will need to continue to respond to on the state and local level, but also feeling very confident that the civil rights community has been fighting at the legal level some of those state level SAVE Acts. I saw someone noted in the chat that Florida passed a version of the SAVE Act, and it is currently in litigation. So really hoping for good advocacy in that state. All right, next slide, please. Okay, you also may have seen that President Trump released the second executive order on elections that he has put out during this current term. The executive order that he just released would make changes around who is eligible to vote by mail and how that process works. There are a couple things that I want to make very clear. One is that the president has no legal or constitutional authority to make changes to election laws. So nothing in this executive order is the law. And then I also want to make clear that, this is the second time that we have seen this, and his elections executive order in 2025 has been ruled by 3 federal courts to be unconstitutional, illegal. In the 2025 elections executive order, no aspect of it has been put into process. And then for the current 2026 elections executive order, there are already 5 active lawsuits addressing aspects of the order. So just to name a few organizations involved in those, Brennan Center, Latino Justice, Black Voters Matter, Common Cause, Lawyers Committee, the NAACP, ACLU, and more. And they have been talking with us at AAPD to make sure that the impact on disabled voters is also raised in this case and represented. So feeling very good about continued advocacy here, and want to make sure that you and your communities are informed that there is nothing in this executive order that you need to be acting on or worried about. Okay, next slide, please. All right, my last federal voting rights update for you is more focused on Black voting policy and how the process works, and deals with a very specific opportunity for advocacy. So the Election Assistance Commission, which is an independent agency that provides guidance on how elections work, every year they have a voting policy survey. Sorry, every 2 years they have a voting policy survey where they collect information from all the localities around the country about how they are facilitating elections. And then they conduct another survey to check in on data and how that's being implemented across the country. So every 2 years we submit comments on this process. We have been successful in the past in additions being taken from our comments. So we have gotten a question added to this survey asking local election officials if they conduct accessibility audits of polling places. So this is a small win, but the more we can get election officials thinking about accessibility in more than one way can be really helpful. So our comments this year, we tried to add a question about how states are navigating removing and or restoring voting rights based on guardianship or court findings of mental incompetence. We recommended that they improve questions about mail voting and drop boxes. We suggested that they include disability and access in their poll worker training questions to make sure poll workers are being trained on those aspects. We also advocated for them to improve questions on how curbside voting is facilitated. Something we regularly hear is wanting to know best practices across states that are using curbside voting. So that information would be great for the EAC to collect. And then we also suggested that they add questions about how voting is supported in congregate settings like nursing homes and during emergencies like natural disasters or personal emergencies like being hospitalized. And then lastly, we added a request for questions around voter assistance, as we have seen some states limit or criminalize voter assistance. Okay. Want to pause there and see, Aubriana, if there is anything that we want to lift up or answer from the chat.
This is Aubriana. Thank you so much, Alexia, for those updates. We do have a question in regards to, I think, the SAVE Act. Rio asks, is there a list of states that have implemented these state level versions? Thinking about the example of Florida that you mentioned.
This, Alexia, that is a great question, Rio. And yes, there is, from our lovely friends at the Voting Rights Lab who have presented to us in the past. So I am happy to include that in our follow-up email.
Thank you. And then that was our only question in the chat, having folks share some reflections. Holden is saying that he's relieved that the courts have stuck true to the law and that those responsible for carrying out orders have respected the court decisions. Gretchen is noting that often guardians and organizations don't allow for people with disabilities to vote regardless of what the law states. And then also seeing that Mark has a hand raised for a question.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mark. Mark, you are on mute just in case you are talking.
Yeah, thank you. This is Mark speaking. Alexa, you had mentioned, I did see the NAACP. And they were actually on that letter that was sent the other day about responding to the
Mark, I'm
communication
sorry. We're having a
removal.
difficult time hearing you. It's really
Could
echoey.
have more meetings with these groups. I'm in New York, and the new NAACP is they're launching a major, they're calling a multi-year campaign. I've been trying to talk to Chris Alexander and Joy Thompson for a while, years. They're not into accommodations. I mean, they sent the invite for Tuesday event. There was no, I mean,
This is Alexia. Mark, I'm so sorry. I just muted you. We were having really hard time hearing you. You have an echo on your microphone.
okay, can you hear me now? Okay.
No, unfortunately, I think it's still kind of unclear.
Oh,
You might
want
to type down your answer if you can't fix the mic.
Yeah, this Alexia. Holden suggested if you could put your question in the chat, maybe we can read it out loud.
Okay. Hold on one sec.
The problem is that Mark is in here with two devices. If you could leave the audio with one of those devices, then it won't have that feedback. That echo is actually feedback. because like it was mentioned, yeah, if there's two devices, it's going to feed back. Another way that you could handle that is placing one of those instances, the one that's got the green mark, into the waiting room while he speaks, and then if he wants to, you can bring it back in. But that way, there won't be two things in the Zoom room at the same time to create that feedback.
Dyslexia. Thank you so much. So many folks chiming in to help. It seems like typing the question might be a good way to go for now. So we will come back to your question, Mark, when we see it in the chat. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to pass it back to Albriana to talk a little bit about Disability Voting Rights Week.
This is Aubriana. Thank you so much, Alexia, for those updates, and always appreciate folks' thoughtful questions. I learned so much from everyone in this community. So next slide, please. Even though it's only April, we are so excited to begin planning and dreaming towards Disability Voting Rights Week 2026. So Disability Voting Rights Week, also can be referred to as DVRW, is a national campaign to celebrate the power of the disability vote. In case it's new to you, Disability Voting Rights Week is about advocating for accessible futures, celebrating our community, and building power. It was created by grassroots disabled advocates, and it is a cross-disability, cross-movement week of action and celebration. So we really want to invite everyone on the call today and our allies to join us in celebrating this September. So it will be September 14th to 18th. But in years past, we have had coalitions and organizers across the country celebrating all month long. Some ways that folks have celebrated Disability Voting Rights Week have been through in-person, hybrid, or virtual events that aim to register and educate voters across our country. So for example, on this slide, we have a photo of Rev Up Virginia organizers posing with students as they tabled on campuses across Virginia for Disability Voting Rights Week. They're wearing Rev Up t-shirts and holding giant letters that spell out VOTE, VOTE. We have also had organizers host nonpartisan candidate engagement, host and facilitate social media campaigns digitally, and then also a lot of media engagement, from letters to editors, op-eds, press releases to garner coverage of your events. So really so excited to uplift the many ways that our organizers across the country have celebrated the disability vote in September's past, and we're really excited to support and uplift the future Disability Voting Rights Week organizing that we will build together. Next slide. So wanted to share that for the first time this year, we are trying out a new approach to Disability Voting Rights Week by promoting a unified national theme. Our hope is that by aligning around a shared theme, we aim to provide clear calls to action and more focused guidance for our partners and voters across the country. Our Rev Up National team will help to develop specific messaging and content centered around this theme, and we encourage coalitions and partners and organizers to incorporate this into your Disability Voting Rights Week efforts, but also really wanting to uplift and share that any and all Disability Voting Rights Week organizing, regardless of focus, is valued, supported, and encouraged. So please don't feel pressured to focus on this specific theme if it doesn't meet your needs and community interests. Wanted to share that for Disability Voting Rights Week 2026, the theme will be centered around Be an Accessible Democracy Defender. Across the country, voters continue to experience barriers that make it harder and sometimes impossible, as we all know, to participate in our elections. At the same time, we've also seen already on this call today the power of community, people helping each other make a plan to vote, sharing resources, and advocating for change. We also know the power of collective action and that even small actions can make a big difference in our communities. So that's why this year's theme is Be an Accessible Democracy Defender. Everyone has a role to play in making our elections accessible. And so through this Disability Voting Rights Week, we hope that voters with disabilities will think, my vote matters and my experience matters. We hope that they'll feel solidarity with our broader community and supported to access their right to vote. And then there's a few calls to action. So we hope that they will register to vote and make a plan to vote in November 2026. We hope they'll report any accessibility barriers that they experience, share their experience voting with others, and also support a friend in registering, educating, and voting. We're also thinking about what we want election officials, poll workers, and non-disabled people to engage with us for this Disability Voting Rights Week. So we want them to think accessibility is everyone's responsibility. We want folks to feel motivated, accountable, and included. And then some of our calls to action will be learning about the barriers that disabled voters face, committing to taking action to make voting more accessible, such as reporting or removing accessibility barriers at polling places. And then lastly, sharing accessible voting information with their communities. For some of the resources that our national team will share with you all, we will have a toolkit that will be released June 1st, and we will include event templates and guidance, some social media messaging, our My Plan to Vote templates in multiple languages, social media graphics, and proclamation information. So we are just really excited to see how you engage your communities and want to celebrate the power of the disability vote from local to national levels this upcoming September. Going to take a pause to see if there are any questions in the chat, and also seeing that Mark also raised a question as well. So wanting to check in, Alexia, if you wanted to uplift that.
This Alexia, thank you so much. Yes, Mark flagged sort of the differences sometimes between national organizations and ones that have state chapters. And as we're working across movements, also being able to make sure our cross movement partners are also being accessible in their advocacy. So I've responded to Mark that we will follow up with our national partners at the NAACP and just appreciating Mark's direct advocacy as well.
Thank you so much, Alexia. Seeing Elizabeth's question in the chat, where will the toolkit be released at?
Great question. If you are subscribed to our listserv or follow AAPD on social media, that is where you will find the toolkit when it is released on June 1st. It will also live on our website upon that date. Yep. And seeing Carrie from Rev Up Tennessee. Yeah, go ahead with your question.
Hi, yes, this is Carrie. Aubriana, I was trying to type, but I was not quick enough. You said my vote matters, and what was the second thing that you said for the I guess I'm gonna say it wrong, but campaigns for that?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much, Carrie. So we're hoping that voters with disabilities will think my vote matters and my experience matters. But also sharing that this messaging and kind of narrative language will also be included in the toolkit and some additional follow-up. So yeah, not wanting to tire your typing hands out too much on the call.
This is Carrie. Thank you so much.
Miss Lexia, thank you so much, Aubriana, for giving us that overview of Disability Voting Rights Week. Hopefully, it has planted some seeds. I know many of our Rev Up organizers start thinking about their Disability Voting Rights Week in January and February, so you might already be planning amazing events, and really encourage you to have those event dates and as many details as you can by July 15th so that when ye can send you swag for your event.
Thank you so much, Alexia. Well, I am happy to share that we can take this collective excitement together into our next 10-minute break. So we will spend the next 10 minutes on a break, and then we will transition into some breakout room conversations. So would love for folks to come back at around 1:50 p.m. Thank you.
Ariana shared with us Disability Voting Rights Week is scheduled for September. The toolkit will be released on June 1st. And if you are planning an event, we would love to send you swag. Just let us know about your event by July 15th, and we'll have information for that out in our toolkit. We have a lot of coalitions represented on this call, a lot of emerging coalitions happening. So if you need help getting connected, please reach out to us. We'll also put a link in the chat of our full list of coalitions and our events dashboard where you can find out when coalition meetings are happening. Our next national call is on August 26th. We hope that you will join us again. And then lastly, we really love hearing your feedback on these calls, what's working well, what could be working better. So if you can please fill out our call feedback form, we would really appreciate that. So we're going to drop some of those links in the chat. And then, of course, as always, we will send a follow-up email with any links shared in the chat, action items, and the recording will be available on our YouTube in a couple of weeks. All right, so we drop these links in the chat for you all. Oh, just kidding. Aubriana beat me to it. All right, fill out our survey form. We want to hear your thoughts. Thank you so, so much.
Take care. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.